Hi friends, Analia here. Today we're going to assemble my Snowflake cutout card. For this card, I've used Encore cardstock from 12 by 12 cardstock shop. The base and the outline of the snowflake are in violet, blue, and fountain. For the snowflake itself, I used the Wow Shed Free glitter cardstock, also from 12 by 12 cardstock shop. I hate glitter. It makes a mess. It gets on everything, and frankly, most people don't want a card with a glitter on it that's going to make a mess on them when they open it. This cardstock is amazing. So it's no shed. You can see like it doesn't come off on my hand at all. It's got a really subtle texture to it and still has the amazing look of glitter, but doesn't make a mess, not even when you cut it. So I have that in white here. I also have some smooth cardstock in white that I cut for the inside of the card. Okay, so I have the Snowflake cutout card open here in Silhouette Studio. I've opened the SVG because I have Business Edition. If you're using the free Basic Edition, you'll need to use the DXF file. However, I recommend paying, I think it's about $15 to upgrade to the next edition, which will allow you to use SVG files. SVG files, I think, are a little more user-friendly and typically carry the color information that the artist put in, so it's a little bit easier to work with. Now I am going to open up my layers palette. So it's on the bottom down here on the right-hand side of the menu. If your menu looks a little bit different, you might be in starter mode, and you can toggle that on and off in the top here, so the layers panel isn't visible when you're in starter mode, but you can add it if you want to keep starter mode on. So I'm going to open up my layers, and we can see the different pieces that we have here, and we want to make sure that our base, which is grouped here with the score line and the base for the card, actually get grouped together, and so that the score line gets cut into the correct place. So what I like to do is move the pieces that I'm not cutting yet off to the left-hand side, and then when something's cut, I'll move it over to the right-hand side. So I'm going to move the white piece, the gray for our snowflake, and then the light blue border for the snowflake, and that just gives us the card base and the score line. I'm just going to drag to select those, and then I'm going to right-click and say Group. You can also use Control or Command G to group those together, and now we can move those around and that score line will stay attached. So we can go ahead and cut our pieces and then get to the super easy assembly. Okay, so I have Cricut Design Space open, and I'm going to the upper left corner and I'm going to click Canvas, and then in the bottom left I'm going to click Upload, and then Upload Image. And then I'm going to drag my SVG file into this dotted line area. I recommend that you use an SVG file. You'll get better results than using a DXF file. And because Cricut Design Space supports an SVG file, that's the best choice. Click Continue, and then Upload. And then I'm going to go ahead and minimize the suggested items on the side there so it's out of our way. Now we've got our card brought in, and we can see the dimensions of the card. Sometimes Cricut Design Space likes to resize things, so if you're using a specific size envelope, you can go ahead with all of this grouped together and click in the corner and free scale this, or type a specific width or height in the top here to make sure it's going to fit with your envelope if you're not making a custom envelope. I'm going to hit Control Z on my keyboard to undo. I'm going to go ahead and just cut this at this particular size. If we go to our layers on the right hand side, we can see that everything's grouped together. So I'm going to right click and say ungroup. You can also use Control Shift G or Command Shift G to ungroup if you prefer to use hotkeys. We can see the pieces that we have here. We have the white insert that goes inside the card to write our message. We have the piece for our snowflake. We have the light blue border for the snowflake. And then this last part down here is a group. And we can tell by the icon and the caret to the side. And we can twirl that down. And this is our card base with our score line. I've used a dotted score line. I like to do that. If you want to replace the score line with a straight score line and you're a more advanced user, go ahead and do that and make sure that you choose your operation to score instead of cut, so you don't cut your card in half. But we're going to go ahead and leave this with the dotted score line and our card base. So now we have the whole group selected, and you can see that the top level here where the arrow is green, and the two pieces underneath it are a slightly lighter green. And then we're going to click attach, and then we can see that those are attached. And again, we can twirl that down and it's going to show us what's attached in there. Now we're ready to cut. So I'm going to go ahead and click on make, and then don't save. And then we can see our mats. So we've got our white material, our gray for the snowflake, again, some like glitter paper or star dream, or some matte metallic silver could be really cool for this. We've got our blue border piece. And then lastly, we have our card base, which has that score line right down the center where we want it to be. Then we can click continue and follow the prompts on the screen with our machine to load our mats and get all of our pieces cut. So let's start by taking our card base, and we're going to just fold along our score line here. And I'm going to use my bone folder and flatten that out. And I'm going to go ahead and just open this back up so that we can glue things easily. I have my Barely Art Craft glue. I'm a huge fan of glue because I never line things up properly the first time, and this gives me a little bit of wiggle room. So what we're going to do is take our snowflake and glue it onto our light blue green here, just like this. So I'm going to flip that over to the back and add my glue. The Barely Art Craft glue dries clear, so if we get a little bit squeaking out when we press this down, that's okay. It will be clear. Now, if you have a glitter adhesive vinyl, you could use that for our snowflake instead of cardstock. You could also use like a nice metallic cardstock, would be really awesome, or like a matte metallic. And then we're gonna take our snowflake and just line this up in the center. You can kind of line up your little nubs. And we'll just give that a little bit of a pat and pick up any excess glue with our fingers here. And then we're going to take this and just position it here on the front of our card. So I'm going to flip this over and add some glue. And we're going to pick that up. Line this up so that we've got some even
border around everything. And then give that a good press. And there we have the front of the card. And then we're just going to stick our panel on the inside. And we're going to line that up so we have a nice even border around the outside. And there we have our snowflake cutout card. And here is our final assembled card with that nice sparkly no shed glitter cardstock. What's great about this card is that it's designed to fit in a standard 4x6 envelope. Thanks for crafting with me today. I'll see you next time.